You will recall, of course, the time that Meghan Markle simply forgot that she helped with a book. So much so, in fact, that she had to apologise to the United Kingdom's Crown Court. But now it's taken a turn for the worst, this time regarding who? Hi, good morning, Neil Sean here in the heart of London. Thanks for joining me today. Lovely sunny morning, isn't it today? And thank you also to all the lovely people who've told me they've now tried Horlicks for the first time. Should have shares in that company. I've drunk so much of it, but it's nice to know that you all enjoy it too. As I say, it's one of those things, in the middle of winter that just picks you up if you feel a little bit sort of like, and we all have those days, don't we? Anybody out there who's not feeling their very best today, well, things will just take a turn for the worst. Why? Because you've just tuned in. I'm only joking, of course. It's lovely to see you. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Back as ever, though, to your Breaking Ball story of the day. This particular story actually centres upon the Princess and the Press documentary. You know, the one that came out last November in 2 parts, fronted by that lovely traditional royalist, Emil Ranjal, or whatever he's called. Can't be bothered to learn his name. In fact, he's so disrespectful. But what's interesting, I find, is that he was considered to be a chum. So much so, in fact, if you recall, that the Duchess of Sussex and the Duke allowed their lawyer to appear on the programme to defend them against those alleged bullying claims. It's interesting then, isn't it, that very quickly that relationship fell apart. Let me explain. See, there was also a podcast attached to this particular documentary. You know what it's like now with the 21st BBC. They think that everything has to be down with the kids. Quite why the kids would want to know about the princesses and the press and all that sort of stuff is really not their remit. They're far too busy playing Game Boy and all that sort of stuff. But as ever, BBC totally out of touch. Back to the plot though, because when they decided to release that podcast, sadly for Amal, he'd left in the fact that she'd used the phrase misled the court. Ooh, cue litigation alert over in California from the Duke and Duchess, and she wanted it removed. Now, that really didn't take much for the BBC to back down. Far faster, of course, than if you had not paid your licence fee, if you get the picture, over here in the United Kingdom. Now, when you break this story down, whichever way she wants to phrase it, she wanted it removed because she said she'd simply forgotten that she'd assisted with those numerous texts that she'd given to her personal assistant at the time, Jason North. You get the picture now. Yes, they completely backed down and changed it for her. But what was the reason behind this sudden change of heart? Was it the threat of legal action? Well, I spoke to a very good source within the BBC who simply told me this. Given the backlash that they'd had about the programme originally, and of course the fact that they'd lost that Carol service over to the independent network, plus of course the big debacle over the Martin Bashir case, which is still ongoing now, they simply couldn't afford another lawsuit. It would look bad in the media, given also the fact that people are really fed up with them, and of course they're being challenged now by the government to freeze their licence fee. Things are not looking good for the BBC. So once again, Miss Markle managed to get her own way, basically on a technicality. Now, I'm not here to judge, as we often say here on the show, we like to be impartial, but whichever way you look at it, Miss Markle did assist with the book. Now, whether she claims she'd forgotten, whichever way, it's not necessarily misled the court, she simply didn't tell them that she'd actually assisted with the book. And I'm sure what would have been interesting was there would have been conversation and debate, no doubt with Prince Harry, no doubt, of course, with the former communications officer. She must have known this would have come out at some point. What I find strange is the fact that once again, Harry and Meghan, allegedly, are allowed to rewrite their own narrative, and seemingly people just back down and fall over. As ever, let me know what you think to this particular story. Were the BBC too weak to give in? Should have they simply have fought it? As ever, let me know, as I say, what you think in the comments below. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.